it would appear that a bunch of people have been banned from the God of War Steam forums for making fun of Jim Sterling. Oh, excuse me, Stephanie Sterling now, I do suppose, and incidentally, I suspect that is the reason for the ban as well. And the entire thread itself simply just poof up and disappeared. That's rather interesting. The God of War developers riding to the rescue of the damsel in distress. Huh. See, I made a video about the emerging internet aristocracy a little while ago when the Twitch leaks started dropping, showing that there was a tiny little minority at the very most top, something like 0.something% of Twitch streamers that earned all of the money, and were also protected by Twitch itself, given special privileges, special treatment in the algorithm, and shielded from any consequence for violating Twitch's ever-broadening and ever more subjective terms of service. And even when they did a major whoopsie, as demonstrated with Hassan Piker's America Deserved 9/11, even after tons of media outrage, the worst that happened to Hassan, the multi-millionaire socialist, was a very light slap on the wrist. Because we are absolutely seeing the rise of a genuine aristocracy protected by the platforms, and you don't have to be a top earner to receive this particular protection. Another way is, of course, to being on the correct side of the political compass, or, incidentally, as demonstrated by Stephanie Sterling here, having the correct pronouns. Now, this is in Norwegian, so you probably aren't going to be able to read it, but I can, obviously. You have been banned from the God of War Steam forums, the community center, for the reason of toxicity. What's the toxicity? Quote, "That ain't a woman, wasn't even a man to begin with either, manlet." In reference, then, presumably, to Stephanie Sterling. I am trying really hard to get that right, because I gotta tread rather carefully with this video, because sadly, I am a third-class citizen. Not only am I not a part of the upper-crust elite, I've also set my mind on the internet, a dangerous thing indeed. This ban was handed down by the God of War developers, as it says right here. God of War utvikler, developer. For, again, the reason being toxicity. The thread itself also simply disappeared, and some people have been raising questions as to why topics and posts are just disappearing from the God of War Steam forums. Now, one theory was that perhaps they were being deleted for being a PC elitist or stirring up bullshit. You know, ha ha ha, we've got God of War now, console peasants. How does them apples taste? Except there are tons of posts like this on the forums right now, dozens of pages of it. They're not even being shut down or locked, far less so deleted. Again, there seems to be only one reason why you would specifically single out people that insulted a certain individual and lock the thread talking about one of their videos specifically, as that was the reason. It was in reference to Jim Sterling calling the PS5 useless. That was the title of the video, in reference directly to one of his videos. Damn it. I'm trying, YouTube, I really am, but I've watched Jim Sterling videos for years, ever since he started really going off the deep end, and honestly, I agree with them. I am not gonna be able to... This might very well be the video that finally gets my ass yeeted. I have a great deal of respect for the person, as he is vehemently anti-corporate, though, incidentally, he's also been benefiting quite heavily from the very same corporate culture that he so frequently stigmatizes, but oh well, details. And to bring this around again to the idea of the emerging internet aristocracy, if you aren't amongst the 0.0-something% of internet millionaires, then you can also gain special privileges by simply having the correct opinions. let me show you something else that happened rather recently here. Novaro Media, a very leftist channel, was deleted off YouTube with absolutely no explanation whatsoever. It simply just disappeared. Something that has happened to a frightening amount of channels for people I know, but, you know, that's a different story. Now, one of the people at Novara Media had previously said, as all lefties have at some point, it's not censorship when a private company decides to remove you from its platform. You don't have an inalienable right to a Twitter account. Maybe you should. And then, once the channel disappeared, whether or not you agree with what we publish, it shouldn't be the whim of giant tech companies to delete us overnight with no explanation. Clap, 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 clap. Welcome after you have finally realized that massive tech companies over which you have no power, no influence whatsoever should not be allowed to take away your channel, your livelihood like that. I know this must have been a difficult realization for you to make, but thank God you have finally arrived at it. And here's the thing too, I will actually give out a little bit of praise here. A threat to everyone, says Ash Sarkar, one of the primary people behind Novaro Media, and a woman with a checkered past. Novaro Media had of course already made an article saying cancel culture doesn't exist. You silly conservatives, it's just a myth. Again, then their channel disappeared. Now, they got it back almost instantly, within hours in fact, because again, right side of the political compass. No matter what they post, no matter how spicy they get, they are protected. They are part of the aristocracy, the ruling class, the privileged elite. Again, Ash Sarkar has been in some hefty weather in the past. She has promoted political violence, obviously, because she's a communist, and socialists in general tend to be rather pro-political violence, regardless of whether they are socialists on the left side of the spectrum or the right side of the spectrum. Fortunately, they do tend to fight amongst each other primarily, and then we just have to deal with the unfolding tyranny, regardless of which side wins. She's also been accused of anti-Semitism for having, I believe it was, defended anti-Israel graffiti in the Warsaw ghetto. Okay. But I will actually say that I will actually defend Ash Sarkar a little bit here, presuming she's being honest with this, because there's a lot of things she has said in this interview here which I absolutely do agree with. Now, initially, left and right must unite against tech censorship. Interesting. This is the original announcement this morning. The Novara Media YouTube channel was deleted without warning or explanation. That's absolutely awful. Again, so we could say something about beds and getting screwed in them, but fortunately, you're not in the bed. You've just made it for everybody else that you're politically opposed to. But I'm being mean again here, because what she said was actually very good. There has been a censorious turn to the left. It's no good denying it. Absolutely. The evidence is frighteningly obvious. And there has been, I think, a tendency to say, because this conversation has the potential to bring in viewpoints which we deem hateful and harmful, that this conversation shouldn't be happening at all. This is something which I disagree with. See, forcing these people to play by everyone else's rules occasionally is a very, very good thing. Now, again, I will say, it's entirely possible she's simply just saying this because it bit her this once. And this was before the channel was almost immediately reinstated. She might have had a change of heart after realizing that she indeed was living in the Versailles and could get away with shit. It's a bad thing that private companies have got so much influence, but the fact is they do. And so when they do to play such a key role in a democracy, and they play such a key role in making sure that journalism can reach an audience, there needs to be some kind of democratically decided regulation on those platforms because it has an impact on our democracy. Absolutely. Now, whether or not we agree on those regulations, for example, that you should be able, in fact, you should have an inalienable right to a Twitter account, to a YouTube account, to an account in general. And the only way that a company can get you off these platforms will be to prove, to the satisfaction of a court of law, that you have committed a criminal act. That is the only way you should be able to yeet it off these platforms. Even more so if you can prove that you are making a living off it, or that you are a person of public interest. Hell, I'm willing to even extend this courtesy to journalists. I'm a very kind and generous person, I know. I can already see some flack coming at me for that take. Oh, Jesus. This is, how President Xi can save the planet. What does it mean to be black? I can already see a certain slant to this website, but it is very nice to see that Asaka is saying the right things. Now, whether or not she will then walk the walk is an entirely different question. And the interesting thing is, too, we saw this previously also with, I believe, the Surf's YouTube channel, which also got removed for a very short period of time for content that was in clear and obvious violation of the YouTube's terms of service, and then near immediately restored again, because why? Left side. Correct side of history, as they so fittingly say, don't they? We have here, again, yet more evidence of the thing I talked about, the actual aristocracy. Some people can violate the rules. Some people can say and do almost anything. Some people can vehemently argue for censorship. Can say that, oh, no, it's perfectly fine that private companies take away your access to social media, Twitter, YouTube, etc. That's lovely, it's great. You don't have any right to your Twitter account. And then turn around the very next second. In fact, this is like 1 year later and go, gasp! Big tech companies can just censor you for no reason? This is dreadful and a threat to everyone! Literally the truism, first they came for so-and-so and eventually they came for me. Fortunately, however, the secret police are on your side, as demonstrated by the fact that you got your channel back almost immediately. Very fortunate that. Now, whether or not the ruling elites will be aware of this, or, well, will be willing to admit it, I very much so doubt it. Anywho, let me take the opportunity to shill as well, in a nice ironic sense. Like, comment, and subscribe. I can't even get it out right because it's so cringy. Maybe one day I can be a part of YouTube elite as well, though I suspect once we get to that point the pendulum has probably swung so far in the goddamn opposite direction again that I'll be yelling at the other wing of politics. Oh well, at least it'll make for a change. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Have a good day.